Okay, we are live. And there we go already. All right, let's go ahead and close this window. Yo, 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 what is up, YouTube? What is up, gamers? This is your boy Lincoln Clay with a case. Lincoln Clay 670 coming at you with a quick live stream. Go ahead and smash that like button. It'll help spread my content to a wider audience, and I would really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that bell icon to stay updated whenever I put out new content. And so I just wanted to do a quick live stream. I have to take off here in about 45 minutes to go pick up my son. And once he gets here, it is over because he is chained to the computer playing Roblox. So obviously I won't be able to do any live streams because I do it from the computer. I'm unable to do it from my phone. I don't know if that's possible or not, but so that's where I'm sitting. I got to sneak this live stream in before I go pick him up. And even if I could, even if I had another device to stream from, my internet wouldn't be able to handle it. So, and speaking of internet, I have decided to, I said I've got, a couple of guests, once I figure out how to bring on guests, I am going to wait until I upgrade my internet or change internet providers altogether, which I want to try to make that happen within the next week. Because currently, my last live stream had a couple of hiccups in it, and so my download speed 18 megs a second is cool. With me living by myself, the 18 down is cool, but for these live streams, that 800 kilobytes up, that's not good. So we gotta upgrade to something better, and that absolutely would be a terrible stream if I were to try to live stream while my son's here playing his online game. So I got to get it in now. And so, and then, and I spoke about our about the guests that I plan on having on the show. I've already gotten commitments from King Thrash, Xbox Vidiot, and I have another friend that I've been friends with since 2006. He goes by the Xbox name of A. Lee, and I've talked to him yesterday and asked him to come on as a guest, and I definitely want to have him on as a guest because he's a guy that played both sides of the fence. He's at one point Xbox was his preferred platform. At one point PlayStation was his preferred platform. At one point he was caught in the middle. So he's definitely somebody that I want to get his perspective and see how he feels about the state of gaming today. So he is going to be another guest once I get everything up and once I get everything situated correctly with changing internet providers and stuff. So those are who I have commitments from so far. Naturally I want to try to grow this channel and try to have more guests on here as time goes on. So and getting into today's topic, the headline reads, Bravo team will take PlayStation VR to the next level. This is one of the games that the very first time that I saw it at E3, this was the game that made me say I have to keep, my PlayStation VR, because I'm not going to lie. I bought the VR day one for my son when it released at the end of October, I believe, and I paid $500 for it. And I've seen a lot of rinky-dink games and stuff, and it was cool. My son played it a little bit. He played it probably for about the first month, and then he slowly gravitated back to his Xbox, playing Gears of War, and then from there, he made his way over to Roblox. So he'll dabble in the PSVR every now and then, but he don't really play with it that much anymore. So there was a point where when he wasn't playing it anymore, I thought about selling the VR, but once I saw that trailer at E3 for Bravo Team, I said I got to keep the VR because this is the game that that I've been waiting for. This is I believe that if you're a person that likes the battlefields, likes the Call of Duties, and you want to experience this game in VR, this is the first step in going in that direction. I really believe that this is one of the games that I had circled on my calendar, and it was originally supposed to come out December 6th, and when the game got delayed, that just cut my heart out. I was like, man, we gotta wait till March now, and that was like, seemed like forever and a day. And now that moment is finally upon us. And Tuesday, ironically, the day that I first start my first job. So that should be an absolutely wonderful day for me because I really think I'm going to like this new job. I start Tuesday. So when I get out of work, first thing I'll do is come home and turn on that PlayStation and get ready to play Bravo Team. I'm really excited about this game. I really cannot wait. And as I said before, if you're a person that plays Call of Duty and Battlefield and you want to experience this on a different level, this is going to be the game for you. So as of right now, based on what I know about the game, the only thing that's probably a little bit of I don't want to use the word letdown. That's be kind of harsh, but the game is single player and online co-op. But as of right now, it does not have a player versus player mode. It does not have a player versus player mode. But I think that's something that can change with an update down the road, because it happened with Farpoint. When Farpoint first came out, that was single player, that was online co-op, and then they added a 1v1 player versus player mode, and that was fun too. And the way that worked is is you against one other opponent, and to make the game more interesting, you basically materialize all these aliens and spiders and stuff like that and send them after your enemy to draw them out into the open, and that's when you can get a shot at them. So that's kind of fun. But I think when we get to Alvo or Firewatch, or is it Firewall, when we get to those games, that's when we're gonna get to the player versus player, and then that's when I think that's when my journey into the PlayStation VR will be complete, because at the end of the day, this is what I wanted out of PlayStation VR, to be able to experience that military first person shooter in VR, to feel like you're really there, to really be immersed into the action. This is what I've been waiting for. It feels like it's a holiday coming up here March 6th. From the trailers that I saw, the graphics look pretty good. It's just a matter of how clear it's going to come through on the PlayStation headset, because a lot of these games on the PlayStation VR, the graphics are decent. It's just once it comes through the headset, yeah, it's a little bit, some parts of it is blurred depending on what game you play. But some of these games absolutely have really good graphics, like that Batman Arkham VR has really good graphics. That is that's another game that I like. But with Bravo Team, from some of the gameplay that I've seen, the way it works is you're basically taking cover behind barriers, behind walls, behind vehicles, what have you, shooting at the enemy. And when you want to try to flank your enemy, you basically, point your controller at a spot that you want to take cover behind. And then once you press the button, your character will, run to that area and then take cover, You know, when he's running to that area to take cover, he's in full view. And then once he takes cover behind that barrier, then it goes back in the first person mode. So I still, that's a little bit different, but I still like it. It's still the first step in getting us to that full blown experience, first person shooter and on the VR. And like I said, this is the first step, and it's going to be a huge step. And I think, like I said, once we get to Alvo Special Forces VR and Firewall, the experience will be complete. And between these 4 games, I may not have a need to play the Battlefields, and I'm definitely done with Call of Duty because they were coming out with too many games too fast. It was a game every year, and then it was all this space age, all this space age, what's the word I want to use? These skeletal suits and shit like that. It was getting to be too much of that shit. And then the only reason why they brought Call of Duty, this boots on the ground shit, the only reason why they brought it back to that is because of the success of Battlefield 1. I think a lot of people thought that a World War I setting was, probably wasn't going to appeal to people, but Battlefield 1 is a very successful game. It is one of my favorite games, and it's definitely, for once, it is one of the games where EA has microtransactions in the game that are not intrusive that I know of. Most of the microtransactions in there are battle packs that feature skins for your guns and stuff. So that's one of the few games EA made this not intrusive, and it is one of my favorite games. So, and I think, like I said, Bravo Team is going to be the start of letting you experience those type of games in VR, and to be fully immersed. And I've said it before, for those of you who don't have a PlayStation VR, I think, and you like first person shooters, Bravo Team is going to be the first must-have game for the PlayStation VR. This is going to, I hope this is going to be a game that's going to move some more units off the shelf. And I think currently the sale that's going on right now goes on until tomorrow. I think it ends tomorrow, with the PlayStation VR starting at $200. But that's not that to me, that's not all that big of a deal, because I go to the Walmart website all the time and I'm always checking the prices of PlayStation VR. And then one thing that seems to be constant is that they always seem to have that Gran Turismo bundle for $300, $250, and that comes with a headset, a camera, and a copy of Gran Turismo. And then even at $300, I think the VR headset and the camera is still worth $300. So it's definitely worth it when you catch that bundle at $200. So I'm pushing that narrative, trying to urge people to get out and experience the PlayStation VR. Is something everybody should experience at least once. And with a ton of games coming out, there's a game out there for everybody, and they just recently released Moss, which I didn't think was going to be my type of game, with a mouse, moving through a fairy tale land. But after I played the demo, I really, really do like the game. And I think that's that's one of those games where I might have to wait until it goes on sale, because you heard me say it before, there's so many games between the PlayStation VR and the base PS4. There's so many games coming up that it would absolutely break my back to pay full price for every single one of the games that I want. So I got to pick and choose my battles and and Moss happens to be another one of those games that's second or third on my wish list. So that's going to have to be a game that I'm going to have to wait until it's goes on sale. But Bravo Team is definitely a day one purchase for me. In fact, I am going to pre-order the game tonight or tomorrow so I can go ahead and download. So I can pre-download the game so it will be ready for me when I get out of work Tuesday. This Bravo Team also supports the aim controller, and that is what makes these first-person shooter games so immersive that you must get the aim controller. It looks like a white plastic tube, but once you put that headset on, there's a gun in your hand. And like on Farpoint, that gun looks so real. I mean, one of the guns I had looked like it was about 10 years old. You know, it had scratches, nicks on it. The paint was faded, and that was pretty cool. So it was really, really immersive and looked like you had a real gun in your hand. And when I first got that game, that was also a game that my son played a lot. You know, he took over my PlayStation when that game first came out. Excuse me, having a drink of Gatorade here. Probably hear me gulping. I'm super thirsty. Last night, I got up and went to the gym at about midnight, and then that was right after I got through making that bar fight VR drunken bar fight video, which some of these VR games will burn some calories for you too. So some of these VR games with a clean diet, playing some of these VR games will actually help you lose some weight. I definitely burned some calories playing that drunken VR and then going to the gym. I mean, when I came home, I was whooped. I was absolutely exhausted. And I'm still feeling it this morning. I'm super thirsty. I feel like I could drink a whole tank of water. So there I think there are some health benefits to playing VR, as crazy as that sounds. Let me see. I think there's a soccer game coming up here for the VR that has a full body view. It remains to be seen how this is going to work out, but still, just like that's just how much they invested into this VR. It's like it's games coming from every direction for the VR. It's almost as many games at the rate they're coming out. It seems like for every 10 PlayStation games that comes out, it seems to be about 6 VR games coming out. So they are really, like I said, they are really invested in this, and it's going to be around for a while. And I know since Sony is pushing that, and they're going to want, a PlayStation VR in the home of everyone who owns a PlayStation, if they don't knock the price down permanently, I know they're going to get in sales. So keep your eyes open. And from the YouTube videos that I've seen, all the hardcore gamers, they have an Xbox One of some sort, whether it's an S, an X, or a standard Xbox One. They have a PlayStation, whether it's the Slim or the Pro, which I have the Pro, and they have a PlayStation VR. Even the hardcore Xbox people, I've seen them, admit that they have a PlayStation and they have a PlayStation VR, and they've admitted that there's some games coming out on the PlayStation VR that they're looking forward to. So this, I think as of December, they had I think 2.5 million VR units sold, and that was like more than Oculus and Vive combined. And they're supposed to be, the top end experience when it comes to VR. And I've had a chance to experience Vive, and I would probably say the games on Vive are pretty much no different than games you'll see on the PlayStation VR, It's just the headset is a little bit clear, So, and since this is Sony's first venture into VR, when the PlayStation 5 hits, I'd like to think at some point they're gonna totally revamp the PlayStation VR, and it's probably going to be much clearer. So I'm really looking forward to that too. So I'm definitely invested in VR for the long haul. So I can't, I can't say enough about PlayStation VR. Um, ever since I learned there was such a thing as VR, and my love for first person shooter games and stuff like that, I always thought, what would that be like to be able to play, a Rainbow Six, or a Battlefield or a Call of Duty. What would that be like to be able to play that in VR and to feel like you're really in there? And we take a huge step in that direction come Tuesday, March 6th. So if you already own a PlayStation VR, this is a game that I feel is a must have. This is a must have game. So I mean, when they first announced Bravo Team, I was so excited about the game that I was like, hey, if they don't make any more, first person shooter games, I think I would be happy with that. But then knowing that the other three games are right down the line too, I do know that, Firewall is supposed to release in 2018, and I do know that Alvo is supposed to release in 2018. So out of these four games, these four first person shooter games is coming up. We had some kind of confirmation that three of those games are going to release in 2018. Special Forces VR, that game is supposed to release in 2018, and along with Alvo, that's going to be a game that both Alvo and let me start off by saying that all these games are going to support the aim controller. So that's going to make the experience all the more immersive. And Alvo and Special Forces VR is going to be cross platform. So you'll be able to play with Oculus and Vive players. And since these games are going to be must have, I think the day-to-day, the daily user activity on these games is going to be pretty high. And just like the Star Trek Bridge Crew, with that game being cross-platform, you'll never have a problem finding a game. There's I will admit that some of these VR games that haven't caught on with people, it's like a desert. You go in there looking for a game and there's nobody there. That's some of the games, but not all of them. Games like Farpoint, you'll always, even though that's a PlayStation exclusive, you still won't have a problem finding a match, because that's the game that introduced the aim controller. So, I think Farpoint did pretty well. But that is a game that I've never had a problem finding a match. So I think Bravo Team and the other games that I mentioned is going to take that to the next level. So anyway, I think I've been live for about 25 minutes, and might have sounded like I was rambling, but the point was to try to stay on that subject and that subject only. Although on a quick note, that in news yesterday, Sony is going to double down on their first party exclusive games. So going into the next generation, you can expect more of what's already going on now. You can expect more first person exclusives coming out of Sony, and yes, the games, some of the games push the envelope, like Detroit Become Human, because those are some pretty touchy subjects. Like when I played Heavy Rain, that's another game from Quantic Dreams. Everybody knows that, that game was offered to Microsoft first, but they didn't want to deal with child abduction and stuff. I played that game, and that game was one of my favorites on the PS3. I beat the game, and then I think when I sold my PS3, that was one of the games that was included when I sold my PS3, and that was one of the games that I absolutely wanted to hang on to, but I had a feeling that when the PS4 was going to come out, that it was not going to be backwards compatible, so there was no point in me keeping that game. But that is, as far as games that I feel are classics, I think Heavy Rain is one of them. And so, and now we've got, Detroit Become Human. And like I said, that's one of those games that, I think is going to push the envelope, but it's nonetheless is one of the games that I'm really, really looking forward to. And with Sony doubling down and staying committed to these first-person games, I think you can expect more games like the Detroit Become Human, more games like Spider-Man, more games like, the Last of Us or whatever Uncharted they might plan if they do one. But Sony will take chances on new IPs. So somewhere in that next generation, the next Horizon Zero Dawn is waiting to be born in terms of that new IP that's going to take, them by storm. That because of how, because of Sony willing to take chances on new IPs and giving their developers freedom to be creative, that next blockbuster new IP is out there waiting for us. So I expect a lot of good things once we move into that next generation with the PS5, and just the simple fact that they plan to continue down the path that they're already on right now. PlayStation 5 is a day one purchase for me, and I still plan on keeping my PlayStation Pro unless the PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible, 100%. But whether they do or don't doesn't matter to me. If it's not backwards compatible, I'll keep my Pro. If it is backwards compatible, I'll sell my Pro. But the PS5 is definitely a day one purchase. And, at this point, I really don't care what the specs are. I just know that they're going to keep bringing us games, and that's what I want, and that's what I want to hear. That's what I want. So moving forward, 2018 is going to be a great year. I think they're going to follow it up, with 2019 with some blockbuster hits, Ghost of Tsushima. That's another game I absolutely can't wait for that I think is going to hit in 2019. And then we head on into the generation, then I think we'll get the PlayStation 5 in 2020. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to the PS5, but not quite yet. We got to get through these exclusives first. We got to get through all these games coming up this year and next year. So, but let me see. I've been live for about a half hour. I got to get ready to go pick my son up here in a few minutes. It's about a 25-minute drive to go and get him, and I got to be there by noon. So I got to scoot out of here in about 15 minutes. But if you're watching me live, thank you for being here. If you catch the recording of this live stream. You know, thanks for checking it out. I really appreciate it. And I'm still going to stick to my plan of doing some kind of live stream Sunday at 8 o'clock, you know, and do a wrap up of all the week's news. And if possible, I still want to do a full blown video. I already got the Drunken Bar Fight VR video out of the way. For those who checked out the video and didn't get offended, you know, thank you. You know, I was just having some fun with the video. You know, that's a quirky ass game, you know, but it's a game that, you know, with the right voiceovers, you can make it a really, you know, fun experience for people to get you know, some laughs out of it. So thanks for checking that out. Thanks for checking this live stream out. And it's about time for me to hit the road and go pick up my son. Y'all have a good weekend, and we'll do this again tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. And I will holler at y'all then. This is your boy Lincoln Clay, and I am out.